Belmoshwitran, she often implies in her Dharma talks animals, many different animals that we have here at the Abbey, even insects such as our stink bugs and flies, ants. But there's one animal that she has ignored so far. These are the quails. And we have many quails here coming, especially before winter time. And they're close to the buildings and they're very sweet to look at. Just yesterday at lunch, I don't know if you recognized when we got our lunch, they picked outside their lunch. So today I would like to draw a parallel of one of the Jataka tales about the Quail King and his flock, and how that can be interpreted, how the king was teaching his flocks, and how that can be used for our modern times, especially now with COVID and the uprising of people against certain restrictions. So first I would like to share the short tale with you. And for those who don't know, maybe online or here some guests who are not so familiar with the Jataka tales, these are tales, some of them are in the Pali Canon and some of them are more folklore or folk stories. The Buddhists have in these stories some moral stories that which the Buddha recounts some of his past lives on his long road to awakening. So this particular Jataka tale is about the quarrelsome quails. Hark to those painful cries, which pierce each day the silent forest. Alas, they are the cries of 6,000 quails, poor little birds. Each day a man comes from the village and casts a net over them as they land on the ground. After throwing the net, he pulls it together, catching hundreds of quails, which he takes to the village to sell. Now one day King Quail said, "Cry no more, my little ones. If you heed your king's words, you will never be caught. When the net is thrown over you, put your heads through the holes and all together fly up, lifting the net through the air. If then you land on the top of a thorny hill, the prickles will hold the net above the ground and you can escape from under it before the villagers reaches the hill. Do as I say and you will be all saved. But if one day quarrels arise and you should begin to fight one another, alas, that day you will be caught and you will never see the woods again." So the quails did as the king advised, and when the net was thrown over them, they flew up to the hill with it and escaped. And the villager returned each day without a penny, and his wife was very, very angry. "Do not worry," said he one evening to his wife. "Those naughty quails will fight together one of these days, and then they will be easily caught." And it happened one day that a quail stepped on the head of another. "I will give you what you deserve," cried the injured quail in anger, jumping at the other, knocking his wing. Away with you, he cried. King Quail, seeing the quarrel, said to the others, "Let us not stay here. These two unhappy birds will surely come to a bad end." And he flew off with those who heeded his warning. And while the two quarrelsome quails went on fighting, a strange dark cloud came over their heads. It was the net. Many others were caught with them and taken to the village to be killed. But the wise King Quail and those who heeded his counsel was never caught. And in silent little forest they all lived happily ever after. So this tale is very wise. It's a lecture that we can take with us when we look at the news. So when I saw in the last 2 years the uprising of people going on the streets and resisting governmental restrictions or demonstrating against COVID vaccines and such, and even getting violent about it. I got sad. I understand the economic crisis, that people are worried about not being able to feed their family and uphold their businesses and such. But I have difficulties understanding if people resist protecting others and taking the measurements of the government or learned health organizations who are well informed into account, and listening to them and going, for example, for a period of time in lockdown, then we could see, such as in China, not that I'm supporting a communist country or something like that, but you can see people have been very restricted, but then they could come out of their situation and live a normal free life again. Similar with New York, you see now people had been very restricted when the big wave came there, and now they can return to bars and their daily routine wherever they needed to go, to restaurants and such. To have a social life, so freedom could return. And while many people who went on protest said, we want our freedom back, I can understand that, but we only can have freedom if we also are able to listen to the advice that is given to us how to gain the freedom. If we continue together like that and ignore the rules, we will continue having this COVID crisis for many more years to come. The Global Peace Index found that by July 21, 50,000 protests were linked to the pandemic, and 5,000 of them were violent. So that's not okay. We all know from the Buddhist perspective that anger, violence is not leading to a result. In long term, it will create more harm. So, and recently I saw, for example, in Vienna, in Austria, there are tens of thousands who went on the street protesting the upcoming lockdown and the mandatory vaccination that is required now, beginning next year. So why? Why can't we just listen to the voice, like to the king's recommendation? Cry no more, my little ones. If you heed your king's words, you will never be caught. You know, like at Sravasti Abbey, we had not taken it easy either. We stopped going out, and we took measurements to protect each other from the virus, and we had only one person basically going out and doing necessary errands. And this way we were very, very safe. So, and then later on when we had the vaccine, we took it, and as you all know, I don't need to teach you, but there's some online. And we also are able now to invite guests who are vaccinated too, and keep other requirements such as a COVID test, and come for a longer period of time. So we can enjoy the freedom that we love. We can enjoy coming together and loving each other again, and not just from the distance. If we just for a period of time are showing some discipline and respect and concern for each other. So there is a lot of misinformation on the internet that is a driving factor for many of these protests in many countries. And it's very helpful to go out in nature and just see what is most important, and put these devices away, and rely on your own wisdom, right? And rely what is really on your heart, to connect with others, to be healthy, to have a good economy so we can thrive, so you can thrive, whatever you wish to accomplish. Just keeping the wise suggestions in mind, and just for a period of time, so that we can continue as a Buddhist here, to continue practicing, studying the Dharma, of course, and sharing the Dharma, And then we can, as we have seen now, some countries are opening up and enjoying life again, and Buddhist centers can invite people again and hold retreats and such. So it's all possible. Yeah, the Buddha has also in the Vinaya stated that if the Sangha community keeps harmony, then it's to be sure that we will attain nirvana. So we as monastics, we can't even perform the rituals if we are not in harmony. There's no way that we can, for example, do posada. There's one paragraph that I would like to share and hold to end this teaching. The Buddha's appearance in the world is to be widely celebrated. Listening to the Dharma and practicing accordingly is the surest cause for peace. The harmony of the assembly is the surest factor for nirvana. Liberating sentient beings from suffering is the utmost happiness. So yeah, why not as a whole country or as a world citizen, why can't we come together and live in harmony, at least for a period of time, to master this crisis, and then return to our daily routine and be wiser in the end and attain Buddhahood for all sentient beings' benefit to end suffering finally. Thank you.